Greetings. Today we're going to be looking at if a normal human could feasibly survive playing Mario Party 2 in real life. Rules are pretty simple. We're going to be using real world physics or attempt to use them. So, no bouncing on lava. If you fall into lava, for example, you're going to die and you're not going to come back next turn. And that about does it for the rules. And at the end, I'll give Mario Party 2 a rank on how survivable I think it is. And I'll also do for Mario Party 1 and Jamboree because I didn't do it in those videos. But other than that, let's go on to Pirate Land. Pirate Land is a pretty simple board, and therefore it's going to be mostly survivable, but we will put it in the low chance of death tier because of the ship shooting cannonballs if you land in a happening space in the top middle. That's going to be just about the only point of death on this board, and because, well, Baby Bowser, when he does stuff, doesn't actually hurt you. He kind of just gives you money or takes money from you. So yeah, Baby Bowser won't be counted. But other than that, Pirate Land is gonna go into the low chance of death tier just in case you land in a cannonball space. And yeah, the ship turns you into a puddle of blood on the bridge. Now on to Western Land, and we're gonna put Western Land in the low chance of death tier for a very obvious reason: the train. Yeah, normal people can outrun the train, nor can normal people survive getting hit by a train. So, yeah, that's gonna be the only dangerous thing on the board. Now, maybe the Huanani thing, but seeing how that's just milk and you're not fucking downing 47 bottles of whiskey there, it's just milk, accordingly, because that's what Wiggler says. So yeah, we're just gonna put Western Land into the low chance of death tier and move on to Space Land. Now on to Space Land, where it's an instant death. We were so close to having this one be possible because for the fact that you are wearing a spacesuit, but you're not wearing a space helmet. So yeah, you would die there automatically. So Space Land's an instant death, like every other space board currently. Now on to Mystery Land, and Mystery Land's gonna go actually into the survive with no injuries tier for one very obvious reason: there's nothing here that can kill you. Yeah, the UFO alien bomb things, they just put you into their airship and don't really do anything. They kind of just bring you from one place. They're basically just flying Uber. So Mystery Land's gonna go into the survive with no injuries tier because I don't think there is anything that could kill you. Even the happening spaces that you do use to get around mostly, they just teleport you. And because we don't have teleportation in the real world, we'll just assume that you're brought there because we obviously can't teleport. But if it's teleportation, then yeah, that probably wouldn't also hurt. So yeah, survive with no injuries. Now onto Horror Land, which is going to be another board where you survive with no injuries because I don't think the day turning is painful. And the other things in this board, mostly just the thwomps. You have to just pay to move, and the eyeball that chases you is just an eyeball, and yeah, eyes aren't really that, hard. And plus it does seem to be going fairly slowly. And other than that, I don't think there's anything in Horror Land that could hurt you. And now for Bowser Land, where I'm gonna put it in the low chance of death tier because of the parade. That is quite literally the only thing here that could hurt you, which is surprising me because it's a Bowser board. But yeah, in case you couldn't outrun the parade, I could see how you could get trampled and that could lead to death. But other than that, I don't see a way how someone would die on this board. But that does it for the boards. Now, let's move on to the items. Now, onto the items, and there's no items here that can hurt you. Don't worry, we'll get to Mario Party 4 eventually, but currently, there are no items in Mario Party 2 that could harm you. But now let's move on to the biggest segment, the mini-games. Before getting into the minigame section, I would like to pre-emphasize that any minigames that do come from Mario Party 1 will not be addressed unless they were changed in a significant way, or if they were just changed that would make it something else. But yeah, now let's get into the minigames. Now onto the minigames. Starting off with 4v4. Lava Tile Isle is going to go into the high chance of death due to the fact that the floor is constantly shifting. Players are trying to knock each other into the lava, and also because the fact that you're just very close to lava, and because whenever you stand on it, whenever it moves, you don't move with it, I'm gonna assume that's like very slippery, that whenever it moves, it doesn't take you with you. So yeah, I'm gonna put lava tile aisle, high chance of death. Hot rope jump is gonna go into the low chance of death tier, mainly because the fire that passes through you only does it for a little bit, and I do know that it turns blue, or well, it starts off as blue, but that is also just gonna pass through you a little bit slower. But yeah, I won't have enough time to actually singe anything, most likely. So at most, it might just burn a little bit, but other than that, I don't really see that much of a chance of you dying here. But yeah, still low chance of death. Shell shocked, and I think it's pretty obvious. Death. You're literally shooting tanks at each other. Now yes, one person usually can operate a tank by themselves, because tanks are usually like at like 2, 3, 4, 5-man machines, not one. But you are still shooting tanks at each other. So yeah, someone will die here because you're shooting tanks at each other. So yeah, death. Toad in a box. You're hitting a box. I mean, granted, sometimes the box does hit you back, and it does seem to squish you, but I don't know if that's just for comedic effect, or if the box is actually just really heavy. So, I don't know, survive with major injuries is where I'll put it, because I don't really know. Mecha Marathon is gonna go into the survive with no injuries, because you're just twisting a crank. That's not dangerous, survive with no injuries. Roll call. All types are gonna be survive with no injuries because you're just counting. And yeah, the bombs do explode, but you're far enough away that it most likely wouldn't hurt you. And the bombs don't look like they're fragmentation, they just look like they're normal black powder bombs. So survive with no injuries here for all types of roll call. Abandoned ship. Well, let's see. We have a stern of a ship that's falling. We have a big ass fish trying to eat you. And you have to climb up it while the water, or well, the ship continues to drop into the water. Low chance of death, because I don't think that fish could eat you. And I think most people can swim, so low chance of death. Platform Peril is up next, and unlike the first video I did on Could You Survive Mario Party, I'm remembering about Platform Peril. And Platform Peril in Mario Party 1 was a high chance of death. And it's gonna be even a higher chance of death here because the layout is harder with like moving platforms. So yeah, the layout is harder and would definitely be harder for like a normal human. So yeah, if the original is high chance of death, this is gonna be also a high chance of death, but a higher chance of death. Totem Pole Ground Pound is gonna be another survivable minigame because you're just jumping onto a totem thingy. So yeah, survive with no injuries. Bumper balls. This one's gonna be pretty hard because each of the different arenas has its own survivability rating. For example, the lava one. Do I even need to explain it? High chance of death. Humans cannot swim in lava. I don't think I need to explain that. The one where it's just the bombs away arena, that's gonna go into the survive with minor injuries here because it would be more painful than on the Mario Party 1 one because there's rocks and hills, and we still don't know what the squids do to you when they take you away, but as I said, you could probably fight off a squid. And the one on top of a mountain, also a high chance of death because if you fall off a mountain, you're gonna die most likely. So yeah, the lava and ice one are gonna go into high chance of death. And to the one on the Bombs Away Island looking one, that one's gonna go into the survive with minor injuries. Bombs Away, another ported minigame, but this time it's more dangerous than ever. Because now, it shoots missiles! And at the end, an even bigger missile! So yeah, if high chance of death, although I am very tempted to put it into the death tier, because I'm pretty sure if a missile blew up next to you, you would die, but I'm pretty sure you can just lose the minigame by diving into the water. So, a high chance of death. Like, very high chance, 99%. Dipsy Turnies unchanged from Mario Party 1, so yeah, survive with no injuries. Honeycomb Cavic is gonna go into survive with minor injuries, Because, I don't know, in case you have a bee allergy, I mean, the bees are just gonna sting you and it will hurt, but it won't necessarily kill you unless you're allergic. So, if you're allergic, I don't know, like, high chance of death, but for everyone else who isn't allergic, is just gonna go into the survive with minor injuries. Hexagon heat. Death. Yeah, this is another one where, ported over from Mario Party 1, but made way more dangerous, because now instead of water, you fall into lava. So yeah, high chance of death. I don't think I need to explain myself any further. Skateboard Scamper is actually safer in Mario Party 2 than in Mario Party 1, because you just get kidnapped by Boo. So yeah, I don't exactly know what the ghosts do to you, but I'll just put in the I don't know tier because I don't know if they do anything to you. But you know, because you come back next turn seemingly fine, we'll just put it into the survive category because you know, they don't really do anything to you. Slot Kart Derby, just like Mario Party 1, survive with no injuries. Shy Guy says, doesn't disappoint the Mario Party 2 tradition of making Mario Party 1 minigames more dangerous, because now instead of just being in water and just drifting off in a barrel, you're now above the clouds, being held up by a balloon, and if you fail, you drop down to the floor. High chance of death. Sneak and Snore is bullshit, so I will put in the death tier because I suck at it, but you can win. Plus, we don't know what the chain chomp does to you. I mean, we assume he just eats you, but seeing how you have to come back, and he doesn't pierce the barrel, you know, I just have to put this into survive with minor injuries. Say, Sneak and Snore survive with major injuries, not minor. Dizzy Dancing is gonna be another minigame where you survive with no injuries for the obvious fact that, you're just being spun around, and like, you can fall, but like, are we really gonna call someone tripping over? Like, when I mean minor injuries, I kind of just mean like a small cut, not just tripping. I mean, I sort of do mean tripping, but I don't. Just survive with no injuries. Deep Sea Salvage is going to go into the low chance of death tier because you are commanding a little submarine, but your head sticks out, so, and you're just kind of picking up money. So, you could die if you drown to death, but see how we're able to operate these things fairly efficiently? You would only have a very low chance of death if you decide to, drown yourself, but other than that, low chance of death. And the last FFA minigame, Tile Driver, and that's going to go into the survive with no damages tier because you're just jumping and slamming your ass onto blocks. So yeah, you're going to survive this one with no injuries. Now onto 1v3s, starting off with Bowl Over. I'm going to say that you could survive Bowl Over with just minor injuries due to the fact that you are just in like a little costume thing. I mean, also, for another fact is that you will absolutely not be able to even hit anyone because I don't think you can have the ball go left and right. I know you can have a ball turn, but you can't have it turn left or right literally twice. It doesn't change direction, so yeah. If you do somehow manage to hit them, it's going to be a survive with minor injuries, but other than that, I don't even think you'll be able to get the shell to the people. Next up, Crane Game. You're in space. Instant death. Move to the music. Instant death, you're in space. Part 2. Bob-omb Barrage is gonna go into a high chance of death tier because you're throwing bombs at someone. I know they're in water, but bombs underwater still, you know, will blow up, depending on the type of bomb. So, yeah, if the bombs do blow up underwater, yeah, high chance of death, but it's still gonna be a high chance of death because pretty sure people will be able to accurately throw bombs better in real life than in a video game, so high chance of death. Look away. You're turning your head. I don't even need to say, survive with no injuries. Shock drop and roll. Oh, well, now let's just see. You're spinning while trying to run on a spinning platform cylinder thingy while there's electricity right under you, and if you fall, you will get electrocuted. I think it's pretty obvious. You're going to have a high chance of death here because you're basically just going to be flung into an electric chair. High chance of death. Thank you very much. Lights Out is going to go into the survive with minor injuries tier because you're quite literally just using a rubber mallet to hit people. Although you are using it to break a light bulb, so I might put this into the survive just with major injuries, just in case the glass, you know, breaks and it goes into your eyes or it just cuts you. But other than that, survive with major injuries here, just in case the glass just like cuts you or something. Next up is fillet relay. This one, you're gonna survive with no injuries for the obvious reason that you're just walking on ice. So, you might trip, but, you know, it won't lead to, like, even minor injuries. It might just, like, a bruise or something. But, yeah, survive with no injuries. Archer Rifle is gonna go into survive with no injuries here because you're holding up signs and you're not getting shot at with a bow. So, unless you're somehow connected to the wood, you're gonna survive with no injuries here. Quicksand Catch is gonna go into the high chance of death here because, I don't know how many people will be able to, go against sand that's constantly going to the middle, especially with the walls being vertical with no seeming way to get out. So yeah, there's most likely going to be a very high chance someone dies in Quicksand Catch, especially with all the sand flooding to the middle. Someone would most likely sink and die, so high chance of death. Rainbow Run is going to be a high chance of death because if you fall, I don't even need to say anything, you're just gonna fall to your death, and that's not even counting for the people shooting cannons at you. It's like a high chance of death. Now, onto 2v2 minigames. Starting off with Toad Bandstand, and this one's gonna be a survive. There are nuts that drop on your head, but I don't think they would hurt that much, you know. I don't think they're being dropped from the Empire State Building, and are probably just being thrown, or just dropped from like a meter. So you'll survive this one without hassle. Bobsled Run is going to go into the high chance of death here, just because I don't know how many average people know how to control a bobsled, let alone a bobsled, on an obstacle course where there are multiple places where you can fall to your death, where it seems like, so high chance of death. Handcar Havoc is up next, and this is still going to be a high chance of death, like in Mario Party 1, but a bit lower chance of death because you're not above lava. But you're still probably gonna die if you fall off, but so still a high chance of death. Balloon Burst is gonna go into the survive tier, just because it's a balloon and popping a balloon doesn't kill anyone or hurt people. So yeah, you're gonna survive this one without getting hurt. Sky Pilots is another minigame that's gonna go into high chance of death because there are a bunch of cannonballs being shot at you. Nor do I think most people could actually operate a plane. Although if it's what we see in the game and it's some weird flying contraption, then you probably could have a higher chance of survival. But I'm just gonna go with the fact that they're shooting cannonballs at you, so high chance of death. Speed Hockey is gonna go into the survive category because you're just going up and down a platform while hitting a shell, like hockey. Yeah, I don't have to explain myself further. Cake Factory, despite being one of the worst 2v2 minigames I think I've ever played, it's gonna go into the survive category because you're just putting stuff on a cake. Well, one person's putting strawberries on the cake, the other one's lifting a cake, so I think anyone who's been in a kitchen will be able to survive this, so survive. Magna Carta, again, is gonna be a survive with no injuries, mainly due to the fact that you're just driving a cart around, so you're not gonna get hurt here. Lily Lumberjacks is gonna go into the survive tier again because, you know, you're cutting wood with a saw. Now, you could hurt yourself, but, we're not accounting for dipshit work. We're only accounting for, people not trying to get themselves hurt at all possible opportunities. So, yeah, survive. Torpedo Targets is gonna go into the low chance of death tier because, you're shooting torpedoes at each other. Well, not at each other, at targets, but, knowing humans, yeah, most likely someone's gonna try to shoot a torpedo, and then someone else is gonna come in the way, and then you're gonna blow them up. So yeah, low chance of death, just in case someone does get a bit too trigger happy when the other team swims by. Destruction Duet is gonna go into the survive with minor injuries because you're punching a statue and kicking it. Now, I don't think humans could actually destroy a statue, but also I've seen plenty of videos of people actually destroying statues by being idiots around them. So yeah, who knows? So yeah, survive with minor injuries because punching a statue would hurt. Dungeon Dash is just a more dangerous version of Desert Dash from Mario Party 1. So, because there's lava and fire that's circling one of the pillars. So, yeah. Still low chance of death. Now, onto battle minigames. Starting off with grab bag. Again, this is gonna be a survive minigame because you're just trying to pull stuff out of a bag. Survive. Bumper balloon cars may seem dangerous at first, but when you realize that you're just driving into each other and not trying to, you know, drive into a person, driving into a car, this becomes way less dangerous, but I'm still gonna give it a low chance of death, just in case you can penetrate the side of a cart and, you know, penetrate and kill someone. Rakemin is gonna get a survive tier because you're just using a machine to rake stuff, and you know, I don't think using a rake to rake stuff off a tree stump killed people. Plus, it's a machine, so it only does one thing, goes forward. So yeah, you're gonna survive this one. Dare the races. No matter how dangerous a gambling addiction can be, just choosing one of 4 options in a Mario Party minigame isn't dangerous, especially if you're doing it in real life, and you only have to do it like once in the 50-turn game, so survive. Hop a bomb, just like Mario Party 1, death. Bowser's Big Blast, death. It's a big bomb, and you're standing like a whole meter away from it, death. Facelift survive for the same reason as in Mario Party 1, you just stretch your face. Crazy cutters again, like in Mario Party 1, survive. Now, onto the jewel minigames. Starting with saber swipes, and I'm gonna put this into survive with major injuries. Why? Because this minigame seems to just be a duel to first blood, not a duel to kill. So, because it does just seem to be a duel of first blood, this is just gonna be a survive with major injuries because getting stabbed probably hurts. Quick draw quirks is gonna be death because you're basically just doing an impression of Marty Robbins' Big Iron, and you're kind of just doing a quick draw. You know, you really just try to have your enemy not be able to clear lever before the bullet fairly rips from your gun and fatally shoots them. But other than that, death. Time bomb, you're in space, instant death. Psychic Safari is going to be a survive with no injuries because you're kind of just being mentally insane in a desert by some runes. And I don't think being mentally insane by some runes is that fatal. So survive. Mushroom Brew is going to be another survive minigame because you're just putting random stuff into a cauldron, and that's not dangerous. Unless we're putting in bleach and ammonia into it, which we're just putting mushrooms, so survive. Rock, Paper, Mario is just rock, paper, scissors, so you're going to survive this one. And now, onto the item minigames. Roll out the barrels is going to be a survive because you're just choosing one of 6 barrels. So you're going to survive. Give me a break is another survive one because you're just pulling a lever. Hammer Slammer, like everything to do with space and instant death. You're in space, you're going to die instantly. Mallet-go-round, it's a survive. You're just hitting a box with a hammer. Well, mallet, but hammer sounds better. Coffin congestion, just like roll out the barrels, you're just choosing one of 6 options, so survive. And Bowser slots, survive because you're just hitting the slot machines and gambling like a responsible member of society. And now, for my rating of how Survival Mario Party 2 is, well, let's first start with Mario Party 1 and Jamboree because I didn't do them. For Mario Party 1, I'm gonna give it, if you choose Yoshi's Tropical Island and you get lucky enough to get the least amount of dangerous minigames, I'm gonna say that you have about a 60% chance of being able to go through a 50-turn game without dying. Now for Jamboree, if you do the same thing and get as little as possible dangerous minigames, I see you're gonna have about a 70% chance to be able to survive playing Mario Party Jamboree. Still on 50 turns because that's what we started with, and that's when we're just gonna do 50 turns for every game, whether or not it actually has 50 turns, aka Super and Superstars. And now for Mario Party 2. Considering if you choose the correct board and you don't get the most amount of dangerous minigames, I see you're gonna have a 50%. I came to this decision because, you know, you have a pretty big amount of very dangerous minigames, and probably the most that we're gonna see for a while to take place in space, which is instant death. and also probably higher than average amount of minigames are just in depth. So that's why I'm going to give Mario Party 2 a 50% chance of being able to survive it playing 50 turns on the least dangerous board. You know, least dangerous in Mario Party, that is. But other than that, if you liked what you saw, like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later.